dear listeners. Tonight, as the moon graces the sky with its gentle glow, let us embark on a tranquil journey into a world of serenity and wonder, a world where dreams take flight on the wings of a story. Close your eyes and imagine a quaint village nestled amidst rolling hills, a village steeped in nature's embrace. Picture a garden, a haven of beauty and harmony, cradling a single bloom of enchanting allure, the rose red. As the night envelops the world, we shall wander through this magical garden where tales of redemption and the sweet whispers of nature shall lull you into a peaceful slumber. Now, snuggle into your comfiest blanket, let go of the worries of the day, and let the gentle words carry you into the heart of our tale. As the stars twinkle above, we invite you to immerse yourself in the soothing embrace of this cozy, quiet story for a restful night's sleep. Once upon a time, in a quaint village nestled amidst rolling hills and whispering trees, there existed a garden of wonder and delight. This garden was renowned far and wide for a solitary and splendid bloom, a rose of the most enchanting hue, a hue like the first blush of dawn, the rose red. Its petals, delicate and velvety, held a color so vivid it seemed as if the very sun had bestowed its warmest kisses upon them. This solitary beauty stood as a beacon, a symbol of love and hope for the villagers. Its existence was whispered through generations, a legend passed down from elders to children, fueling dreams and sparking imaginations. To the village, the rose red was not just a flower, it was the heart of their community, a vibrant emblem of unity and prosperity. The tale of the rose red was more than a story. It was the pulse of their existence, a rhythmic beat that echoed through their lives, a melody of hope that carried their dreams aloft on fragrant breezes. Now, let me take you to the shadows that lurked beyond the idyllic village, where the tale took a darker turn. Molo was a man consumed by envy, his heart tainted with the hues of jealousy and a hunger for power. In a village neighboring the one that cherished the rose red, Molo dwelled, a man whose desires knew no bounds. Molo had heard whispers of the famed rose red, whispers that stoked the fires of his envy. His own garden, once filled with vibrant blossoms, paled in comparison. The vivid tales of the mesmerizing flower haunted his restless nights, leaving an insatiable craving within him. His once pleasant demeanor twisted and contorted as bitterness took root, intertwining with his very soul. He yearned for the prestige that possessing the rose red would bring him, the admiration and the power to rule the hearts of the villagers. It was not love for the flower that drove him. It was the intoxicating allure of the influence it promised, each petal of rose red seemed like a facet of a grander jewel, a prize that would elevate him to a level of prominence he had never experienced before. Molo believed that with the rose red in his possession, he would become a figure of admiration, a king in his own right, wielding power over the hearts and minds of all who gazed upon its beauty. Driven by his insatiable greed and the thirst for supremacy, Molo plotted and schemed, concocting a plan to steal the rose red and claim it as his own. He was willing to plunge the village into darkness and turmoil, all for the sake of satisfying his own desires and coveting a beauty that was meant to grace another's garden. The echoes of his envy reverberated through the hills, setting the stage for a clash between malevolence and the purity of the rose red. With envy burning in his heart and a mind sharpened by malevolence, Molo crafted a nefarious plan to seize the rose red from its cherished garden. Under the veil of darkness, he would slink into the village, cloaked in shadows, armed with deceit and cunning. First, he meticulously studied the routines of the garden's caretakers, noting their patterns and vulnerabilities. Molo knew timing was crucial, and he aimed to strike when they were least vigilant, their attention diverted by the ebb and flow of their daily lives. He would exploit a night of festivities, a time when the village rejoiced and merriment filled the air. As laughter and music carried through the night, Molo planned to slip into the garden unnoticed, shrouded by the festivities' chaos. Once inside, he would use his knowledge of the garden's layout to swiftly navigate to the heart of the garden, where the rose red bloomed in all its glory. The moonlit night would be his accomplice, illuminating the garden just enough for him to pluck the prized bloom without detection. However, the consequences of Molo's scheme were far-reaching. The theft of the rose red would disrupt the delicate balance of nature within the garden. The very life force that nourished the other flowers would be disturbed, causing a ripple effect of withering and decay. As the village woke to find their beloved rose red stolen, a sense of loss and sorrow would permeate the community. The absence of the symbol of love and hope would cast a pall over their once vibrant village, leaving them to grapple with the inexplicable void left behind. Molo's actions threatened to taint not only the beauty of the garden, but also the spirit and unity of the village, a price he was willing to pay in his pursuit of power and prestige. In the heart of the enchanted garden, a mystical presence dwelled, a guardian of ancient lineage, a creature born of magic and nurtured by the very essence of the garden. This ethereal being, known as Lumeria, was a creature of wonder and protection, appointed as the guardian of Rose Red and the flourishing garden that bore its name. Lumeria was a majestic creature, an embodiment of the garden's vitality and harmony. She possessed the grace of a gazelle and the wisdom of the oldest trees. Her coat shimmered with the colors of dawn, blending seamlessly with the vibrant flora that surrounded her. Lumeria's eyes sparkled like the stars, holding a depth of knowledge and kindness that reached into the souls of all who encountered her. The connection between Lumeria and the garden was an ancient bond woven through the tapestry of time. As the guardian, Lumeria was not only a protector, but also a nurturer of the garden's vibrant life. She had a symbiotic relationship with the flora and fauna, ensuring the balance and vitality of the ecosystem. Every petal that bloomed, every leaf that rustled, and every creature that roamed owed a debt of gratitude to Lumeria's watchful presence. Lumeria's role was to preserve the essence of the rose red, to ensure its safety against any malevolent force that sought to disrupt the harmony of the garden. She possessed an innate ability to sense the intentions of all who entered her domain, an ability honed over centuries of vigilant guardianship. Her purpose was not only to protect the garden, but to guide and impart wisdom to those worthy of it, sharing the secrets of the natural world and the magic it held. The guardian was the bridge between the tangible and the mystical, the living embodiment of the garden's enchantment. Lumeria's grace and benevolence bestowed a sense of awe and reverence upon the garden, making it not just a place of beauty, but a sanctuary of magic, love, and tranquility. Lumeria, the guardian of the enchanted garden, possessed a timeless wisdom that transcended the mortal realm. Her knowledge was a repository of centuries, steeped in the very essence of nature and the mystical forces that bound it. Her eyes held the secrets of countless generations, and her heart bore the weight of prophecies foretold long before the current age. In the moonlit hours leading up to the night, Molo schemed to steal the rose red. Lumeria felt the ripples of malevolence in the air. Her senses tingled with an ominous awareness, alerting her to an impending threat. The very essence of the garden whispered of an intruder, a soul tainted with envy and greed. As she felt the darkness drawing near, Lumeria delved into the ancient scrolls of prophecy hidden within the depths of the garden. Within those sacred texts, she found the words that resonated with the current circumstances, a prophecy etched in time, proclaiming that the rose red would face a trial, a test of its resilience against the forces that sought to possess it for selfish desires. With the weight of this prophecy in her heart, Lumeria prepared for the battle of wills, knowing that the fate of the rose red hung in the balance. Her eyes, shimmering with both determination and sorrow, were fixed on the prized bloom. She whispered to the petals, sharing the ancient prophecy with them, as if urging them to brace for the trials that lay ahead. In the stillness of the night, as the villagers reveled in blissful ignorance, Lumeria invoked the ancient protective spells, drawing upon the very earth and sky to fortify the garden. Her connection with the rose red deepened, intertwining her essence with the flower. She became a beacon of guardianship, ready to defend the symbol of love and hope that had been entrusted to her care against the impending storm that approached. The guardian stood vigilant, prepared to fulfill her sacred duty, her heart beating in harmony with the pulse of the garden, ready to face the coming darkness. With darkness as his cloak and deception as his ally, Molo set out on a moonlit night to infiltrate the peaceful village that cradled the rose red. He knew that to steal the prized bloom, he must be the very shadows themselves, obscuring his malevolent intentions and concealing his true identity. Molo donned a disguise carefully crafted to blend into the jovial atmosphere of the village festivities. A humble trader he became, a man of smiles and conviviality, adorned in simple garments that spoke of a traveler. His face, usually twisted by envy, now wore a facade of warmth and goodwill, disguising his true motives. He engaged the villagers in friendly banter, feigning interest in their lives and their stories. He spoke of distant lands and adventures, spinning tales of a wanderer's life. Molo's words were a well-rehearsed act, each sentence crafted to win trust and disarm suspicion. As the night progressed and the laughter flowed like the village stream, Molo made a deliberate effort to appear generous and compassionate. He offered gifts, a trinket here, a kind gesture there, furthering his image as a benevolent stranger. The villagers, in their merriment, welcomed him into their midst, their guard lowered by the guise of camaraderie. Yet, beneath the genial exterior, Molo's mind was a web of devious thoughts, carefully plotting his stealthy entry into the garden. He observed, he listened, and he waited for the opportune moment to slip away unnoticed. When the time was right, he bid the villagers a courteous farewell, excusing himself with promises of returning in the morrow. His disguise had worked its magic, granting him passage into the heart of the village, all while concealing the darkness that lurked within. The village slept, oblivious to the serpent in their Eden, awaiting the darkness of the night to unfurl his wicked plan and snatch the rose red from its cradle of beauty. Molo, the master of manipulation, set his sights on gaining the trust of the unsuspecting villagers and extracting vital information about the garden, the rose red, and its guardian. Armed with a facade of friendship and a honeyed tongue, he began his cunning maneuvers. He engaged engaged the villagers in casual conversation, subtly steering their talks towards the garden and the legend of the rose red. Feigning genuine interest, he probed for details, extracting morsels of information from their unwitting tongues. He learned of the guardian's name, Lumaria, and her sacred role in safeguarding the cherished flower. To deepen his deception, Molo posed as a curious traveler seeking the marvels of the village, particularly the renowned rose red. He spun tales of his own garden back home, expressing a desire to learn from the village's horticultural expertise. In doing so, he gained their sympathy and admiration, further solidifying his mask of benign intentions. Molo exploited the villagers' natural inclination to share their pride, weaving flattery and praise into his conversations. He lauded the beauty of rose red and its potential to be a symbol of prosperity and fame, subtly stoking their egos and desires for recognition. He subtly probed for weaknesses in their security, all the while portraying himself as a humble learner. He insinuated that the village's reputation hinged on protecting the rose red from potential threats, planting seeds of fear and doubt that would later serve his malevolent purposes. Molo's conversations were carefully orchestrated dances of charm and cunning, manipulating the villagers into divulging precious information. He learned about the garden's layout, the patterns of caretakers, and the specific vulnerabilities that would aid him in his planned theft. His words were spider silk, delicately spun to ensnare trust and knowledge. By the time he bid his farewells, Molo had gathered a web of information, ready to exploit the vulnerabilities he had artfully uncovered. With each whispered secret and unsuspecting confession, he brought himself one step closer to his twisted ambition, all while hidden behind the guise of a friend seeking knowledge. Under the cloak of night, Molo skulked through the shadows, his heart pounding with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. The village slept, shrouded in an eerie stillness, oblivious to the impending threat that crept towards their beloved garden. Careful not to disturb the sleeping village, Molo slipped into the garden, his every movement calculated and stealthy. The moon cast a soft, silvery glow upon the landscape, illuminating the paths he had studied meticulously. The scent of the garden, a potent mix of blossoms and damp earth, hung in the air, a reminder of what was at stake. He navigated the pathways with practiced precision, avoiding the creaking boards and rustling leaves that could betray his presence. Molo's eyes were fixed on the heart of the garden, where the rose red stood, its beauty accentuated by the moonlight. The allure of the prized flower pulled him closer, feeding his greed. As he reached the rose red, a sense of triumph surged within him. He extended his hand, his fingers trembling with the anticipation of finally possessing the flower that had haunted his desires for so long. The gentle touch of the petals against his skin sent shivers down his spine. However, in that moment of stolen victory, the air grew thick with magic. The guardian, Lumaria, stirred from her slumber, alerted by the disturbance in the delicate balance of the garden. Her eyes, radiant and piercing, bore into Molo's soul, exposing his malevolent intentions. Molo froze, the stolen bloom clutched in his hand. Lumaria's presence was both ethereal and commanding, an embodiment of the garden's defiance against the trespasser. She spoke, her voice a melodic yet stern warning, reminding Molo of the consequences of his actions. The guardian, cloaked in moonbeams, summoned the very forces of nature to thwart Molo's theft. Vines sprang to life, twisting and winding around him, binding him in a firm, unyielding grip. Lumaria's gaze held him captive, imparting a sense of guilt and remorse that tore at the depths of his conscience. In that moment of entanglement, Molo realized the gravity of his transgression. He was faced with the consequences of his envy and greed, a reckoning brought upon by the very forces he had sought to manipulate. The stolen bloom slipped from his grasp, falling back into its rightful place. As the vines released their hold, Molo stumbled out of the garden, chastened and defeated. Lumaria's eyes followed him, a haunting reminder that the forces of nature would always stand guard, protecting the sanctity of the rose red. The attempt had failed, leaving Molo to grapple with the repercussions of his wicked ambitions, forever changed by the encounter with the guardian of the enchanted garden. As Molo stumbled out of the garden, a tempest of conflicting emotions churned within him: fear, anger, and a burgeoning regret that clawed at his conscience. Lumaria, the guardian of the enchanted garden, prepared to defend the rose red and the sanctity of the village from this malevolent intruder. With her senses attuned to the rhythms of nature, Lumaria sensed the attempt to pilfer the prized bloom. She summoned the very essence of the garden, weaving its magic into her being. A shimmering aura enveloped her, a manifestation of her dedication to protecting the garden's heart. The night erupted into a whirlwind of energy and power, as Molo felt a force beyond comprehension. The air crackled with magic, and the very earth seemed to tremble in anticipation of the imminent clash. Lumaria's form radiated with a celestial light, a beacon of purity in the midst of the darkness. Molo, still dazed and disoriented from the failed attempt, found himself face to face with the guardian's wrath. Lumaria's eyes glowed with an intensity that seemed to pierce into his very soul. The battle had begun, a battle of intentions and forces far beyond the mortal realm. In a moment of defiance, Molo conjured a surge of dark energy, aiming to break free from the guardian's grasp. Lumeria retaliated with bursts of ethereal light, countering his every move. The dance between light and dark unfolded, a clash of opposing forces that held the fate of the rose red in its balance. Vine erupted from the ground, reaching out to ensnare Molo, binding him in a web of natural magic. Yet, Molo fought back with spells that crackled like lightning, aiming to break free and fulfill his dark desires. Lumeria called upon the elements, the wind, water, and earth, to bolster her defenses and repel the invader. The battle raged on, the garden itself participating in this war of magic. Flowers blossomed, and leaves rustled in harmony with Lumeria's efforts, amplifying her power. It was a symphony of nature's might, a testament to the guardian's unwavering determination to protect the garden and its cherished rose red. Though Molo was skilled in the ways of deceit and malevolence, Lumeria's connection with the garden ran deeper. Slowly, the darkness that shrouded Molo began to recede, his strength waning as the guardian's light prevailed. It was a struggle for the very essence of the garden, a struggle that would determine the destiny of Rose Red and the fate of the village. As the battle raged between Lumeria, the guardian, and Molo, the intruder found himself ensnared in a whirlwind of chaos and realization. The tendrils of nature's magic, the very essence of the enchanted garden, held him captive, forcing a moment of reflection upon his twisted soul. Caught in the midst of this tempest, Molo's mind raced through the events that had led him to this point. Doubt crept in, gnawing at his core. For the first time, he questioned the worth of his ambitions and the path he had chosen. The alluring whispers of greed and envy were drowned by the deafening roar of his conscience. He recalled the faces of the villagers, their smiles and laughter from earlier in the evening, their genuine kindness and warmth. The memory of their innocence and genuine love for the rose red began to pierce through the dark shroud that had clouded his heart. He realized the potential harm he could inflict upon this serene village, a harm that could reverberate through generations. A sense of guilt washed over him, an overwhelming wave of remorse. He had allowed envy to drive him to the brink of destruction, and now he faced the consequences of his actions. He pondered the beauty of the rose red and the harmony it brought to the garden, wondering if his desires were worth the havoc they would wreak. In that fleeting moment of clarity, Molo glimpsed the potential for redemption. He yearned to undo the damage he had plotted, to mend the fracture he had caused in the delicate tapestry of nature. The illusion of power and prestige that had once enticed him now seemed shallow and meaningless. However, The battle still raged around him, and Lumeria's gaze remained steady, demanding a choice. Molo wrestled with himself, torn between the darkness of his ambition and the flicker of remorse that had ignited within. It was a moment of reckoning, a crossroads that would shape the rest of his life. In the end, it was the strength of that flicker, that glimmer of remorse, that overcame his malevolent desires. He let go of the stolen bloom, surrendering to Lumeria and the Guardian's power. With a heavy heart, he acknowledged the depths of his wrongdoings and the need for redemption. The battle had ended, but a new struggle, the struggle to atone for his sins, had just begun. In the wake of the battle, Molo stood humbled and broken, the weight of his malevolent ambitions pressing heavily upon him. Lumeria's gaze bore into his soul, revealing the depths of his transgressions. Yet, it was also a gaze that offered a glimmer of hope, a chance at redemption. Molo's heart, once consumed by envy and greed, began to soften. He saw the garden in a new light, a haven of serenity and beauty that he had so callously sought to exploit. The rose red, now back in its rightful place, seemed to shimmer with forgiveness and understanding. A seed of remorse had taken root within him, urging him to face the consequences of his actions and the pain he had caused. He realized that his choices had the power to not only harm, but also to heal and restore. This realization stirred a desire for transformation within him, a longing to make amends and find redemption for the darkness that had clouded his soul. With a voice filled with sincerity and regret, Molo confessed to Lumeria the depths of his envy and the darkness that had driven him. He acknowledged the harm he had plotted and the potential devastation that his actions could have unleashed upon the village and the garden. His words were a plea for forgiveness, a desperate cry for a chance to right his wrongs. Lumeria, ever wise and compassionate, saw the sincerity in Molo's eyes and the genuine remorse in his voice. She sensed a genuine change of heart, a yearning for transformation and growth. The Guardian recognized the potential for goodness that still flickered within him, buried beneath the layers of bitterness and ambition. She offered Molo an opportunity for redemption, a chance to use his knowledge and skills for good, to help restore the garden and bring about harmony. Lumeria believed that everyone deserved a second chance, a chance to rise above their darkest moments and embrace the light within. Molo accepted this lifeline, pledging to dedicate himself to the service of the garden and its harmony. He vowed to atone for his sins and to work towards preserving the beauty that nature had so graciously bestowed. It was the beginning of a long and arduous journey towards redemption, a journey that would test his resolve and commitment to change. With this newfound purpose burning within him, Molo set forth on a path of transformation, eager to prove that even the darkest hearts could be illuminated by the flicker of remorse and the promise of redemption. The journey would be difficult, but he was ready to face the challenges ahead, striving to make amends for his past and to embrace a future built on compassion and healing. Embracing the sincerity in Molo's remorseful plea, Lumeria, the guardian, extended her grace and forgiveness towards the once malevolent intruder. She recognized that true growth stemmed from acknowledging past wrongs and striving to make amends, and she saw the genuine transformation in Molo's heart. With a gentle yet firm voice, Lumeria spoke to Molo. You have faced the darkness within you and shown genuine remorse. I believe in the power of redemption and the ability of every being to change. The road to healing is challenging, but with determination and a genuine desire to make amends, you can restore the harmony of this garden. She offered Molo an opportunity to contribute positively to the very place he had sought to harm. Lumeria explained that he could use his knowledge and skills to aid in nurturing the garden, to help it thrive and flourish once again. She emphasized the importance of dedicating his efforts to the greater good, mending the scars his actions had inflicted. Molo was taken aback by the guardian's benevolence, her willingness to extend a helping hand despite his dark intentions. It was a chance for redemption that he had not anticipated. Gratitude and determination welled up within him, and he vowed to prove himself worthy of this second chance. I am ready, he replied, his voice resolute. I will devote myself to healing the wounds I caused and to preserving the beauty and harmony of this garden. I will honor this chance you've given me. Lumeria nodded in approval, acknowledging Molo's commitment. She offered guidance, sharing her knowledge of the garden's delicate balance and the nurturing care it required. Together, they discussed ways to restore the garden, planting new seeds of hope and nurturing the existing life within it. As time passed, Molo worked tirelessly, pouring his energy and newfound wisdom into the garden. He became an integral part of the community, sharing his knowledge and passion for horticulture. The once malevolent intruder had truly transformed, embracing his chance for redemption and finding solace in the act of healing the wounds he had inflicted. In the garden's rejuvenated beauty, one could witness the transformative power of forgiveness and the resilience of a soul eager to make amends. Lumeria's wisdom and benevolence had not only saved the rose red, but also rekindled the light within a lost soul, proving that even in the face of darkness, redemption and healing were always within reach for those who sought them earnestly. Guided by Lumeria, the guardian, Molo embarked on a journey of redemption and restoration within the enchanted garden. He immersed himself in the nurturing care of the plants and the delicate dance of the ecosystem, determined to mend the damage he had inflicted upon the rose red and the balance of the garden. Under Lumeria's wise tutelage, Molo learned the secrets of tending to the unique needs of the rose red. He carefully observed the patterns of growth, the dance of sunlight and water, and the whispers of the wind that cradled the garden. Molo's skills as a gardener grew, fueled by a genuine passion to undo the harm he had once plotted. Together, they planted new seeds, nurturing them with love and care. Molo marveled at the beauty of nature's cycle, the miraculous transformation from a tiny seed into a flourishing plant. He witnessed the blooming of blossoms, including the vibrant petals of the rose red. The garden came alive once more, vibrant with colors and fragrances that symbolized the restoration of balance and harmony. Molo also took part in mending the damaged sections of the garden, laboring to heal and rejuvenate the soil and the surrounding flora. He worked diligently to mend relationships with the villagers, seeking forgiveness and striving to be a positive force in the community. As the garden flourished under their combined efforts, the rose red began to bloom more brilliantly than before. Its velvety petals, once stolen and tarnished, now shimmered with an even more captivating hue. It was a symbol of hope and transformation, a testament to the power of redemption and the possibility of healing even the deepest wounds. The villagers, initially hesitant, witnessed the change in Molo and gradually accepted him as a member of their community. They observed the transformation of the garden with wonder, realizing that it was a reflection of Molo's own metamorphosis. The garden had become a living embodiment of the village's resilience and the potential for growth and forgiveness. In the end, the rose red stood as a beacon of hope, surrounded by a garden that thrived in the light of redemption. Molo's journey from darkness to light had not only restored the garden's harmony, but had also illuminated the potential for change and goodness within every heart. The tale of the rose red now told a story of forgiveness, redemption, and the timeless power of healing and growth. In the aftermath of Molo's transformation and the restoration of the garden, a newfound peace settled over the village. The rose red, once stolen and sought after for selfish desires, stood in full bloom, radiating a brilliant red hue that seemed to reflect the collective healing and growth of the community. The garden flourished, vibrant and alive, a testament to the power of redemption and the resilience of nature. Flowers of every hue and shape painted a beautiful mosaic, and the fragrance of blossoms filled the air, a soothing melody that danced through the village, caressing the hearts of all who dwelt there. The villagers, touched by Molo's journey and the guardian's forgiveness, embraced the power of transformation and second chances. They realized that mistakes could be stepping stones toward growth, and that compassion and forgiveness had the potential to heal even the deepest wounds. Molo had become an integral part of the community, sharing his newfound wisdom and love for gardening with his neighbors. He mentored the younger generation, imparting the importance of nurturing the earth and understanding the delicate balance of life. His past misdeeds were not forgotten, but they became a reminder of the potential for positive change. The tale of Molo and the rose red became a cherished legend, passed down through generations. It reminded the villagers that even in the face of darkness, there was always hope for redemption. It underscored the importance of learning from one's mistakes and seeking a path of compassion, kindness, and growth. The enchanted garden, with its rose red at its heart, became a source of inspiration and a symbol of the village's resilience and newfound harmony. It stood as a living parable, teaching all who visited about the potential for positive change, forgiveness, and the eternal beauty that could blossom from the seeds of remorse and transformation. And so, the village continued to thrive, not only as a haven of natural beauty, but as a community bonded by compassion and a shared belief in the power of love and forgiveness. The rose red remained a beacon of hope, a constant reminder that even after the darkest night, the dawn of redemption and renewal was always within reach, illuminating the world with its vibrant light.